There were so many roaches under this floor matting. Yuck. Yep. Same fucking place as last time. Let's hope we can make it back. Gotta get a good walk in for health every once in a while. Yep. She doesn't like maiden voyages. Twice I've tried. Twice she's died. Dang it. You want to come steer my crappy truck home?
Paris. Where is it?
Across the street again. It'd be breaking down sometimes. No sweat, got it running again. Just kidding. Oops. How do you make your Nissan reliable? You daisy chain it to another Nissan that is super shitty, but reliable. Well, the hard body is a 2-wheel drive unit. She's got nearly a foot larger than stock tires and no gear reduction. So the clutch ought to love this. Fortunately, the brakes on the 720, well, they drag really bad. Yep. They don't work, but they do drag. So, you know, great chance to rear end one of my trucks with the other one of my trucks. She's not real quick at manual steering, but we'll get her there. Don't hit my Ford, please. Hey, thanks for being a good sport. What do you mean the seat's wet?
It's soaking wet. My butt is soaking wet.
Nah, it's fine. Hey, look, back in its mud hole. Great. Thank you. It's days like these. You remember why he hired the fiancé to be a fiancé? The old 3-cylinder D21. She's just chugging. Golly, what a good truck. Whew. Really need a win today on this 720. I had a rough go at it this week. I crashed my D21. So that was my practical daily. So now I'm down to my 40-year-old Corolla station wagon here, or my dually diesel, which is comfy, but man, is it expensive to drive. So here's to hoping I can grab a few things from the parts store this morning. One thing, a fuel pump, and get that 720 to run on its own again. Maybe drive it up here onto the driveway and do something with the suspension that'll make me happy, you know. Still not charging, but I've got another Z24 alternator now because my truck's broken. But that's probably not a good fix. But yeah, here's to hoping. No wins. These parts stores have lost their mind on the prices of parts. Beyond that, though, don't really carry much. They still get everything from online, so I might as well too. Sucks. But now I need to find a way to get this thing into the driveway. Guess I'll use this thing. God, that's so much work. Dang it. In order to give myself the most space possible once I do get to the driveway, gotta move all my junk. All my junk being this Corolla. A little off-road action this morning. It's normal. Yep. Stay right there. Yeah. You. Stay there. It's my dog. Oh my goodness. I don't own that. That thing's cute. Yes.
Charlie owns that now.
That's Charlie's Corolla. Oh, big squeaky. Out of breath. Thing's not fun to move around. Really need to get it to consistently run. But anyway, I like suspension stuff. I especially like really low garbage. So, today, hopefully, I'm gonna get under there and get this thing a lot closer to the ground so it's even harder to move around in my backyard. So, the way I plan to do that is by altering the rear leaf springs. A few ways to do that. Obviously, if you're the spendy type, you can buy, for most applications, drop leaves, which already have 1.2" designed out of the leaf springs arch. If you're a cheap ass, you can do drop blocks. However, that just got astronomically more. They used to be $20-$30 for 2 or 3 inch blocks with the U-bolts. Nowadays they're upwards of 60 and 70, which is kind of ridiculous. There's a few other ways to flatten the pack out on your own. I've done them in the past on both trucks and cars with leaf springs. So what I'm going to try to do today is most likely take the leaf packs out, keep the primary as is, take the center leaf out, flip it upside down, clamp the pack back together with it upside down, which should flatten the entire arch, and then also flip the overload spring, which should give it a little bit more revert. And I like to leave the overloads because they act kind of as a traction bar. A lot of people, if you want to go real low and do a cheap bag setup with no link bars, a lot of people mono leaf their truck. I drive way too aggressively. I like burnouts. Mono leaf is not the way. You'll bend that single leaf real fast and have pinion angle and driveline issues badly. So, I'm gonna crack into it, see what we can get going. Also probably gonna hit this thing with a can of Stop the Rust Now-ish spray. So, we'll see. Got a plan for the front too. We'll get to that when we get to that. Been doing some grinding. Wasn't wearing eye goggles. You know, because I can't see shit out of them because they're filthy. is getting a little suspect. So here we are. But let's look where we're at. Leaf springs are incredibly simple, you guys. So this is my passenger side unassembled, or undisassembled, assembled, one of those words. Anyway, simple. Got these little clamps. I usually don't cut them, I just spread them apart. You can get the leaf out. Honestly, you can just slide the center leaf right out of those. This is your center pin. That's what actually holds everything together. I actually need to get this one soaking in PB. Usually your stock ones are stuck. This one probably will be. The other one definitely was. At least in most Japanese formats, the top pin is not a bolt head. Sometimes you'll get lucky and somebody was hacked before you and replaced it with just a regular bolt. I don't recommend that because these are shouldered a specific way, and then this has the right diameter to hold proper alignment. So usually hold that bad boy with a vice grip and go to town with your impact here. Sometimes they are boogered on these bottom threads. I ended up on the other one cutting the threads that are exposed off, and it cleaned up the top threads enough to where the nut came free. But that was also with PB Blaster and heat and my air impact on full fuck off. So over here, I've got this one disassembled, cleaned it up with a wire wheel. They've got these stupid little doodads that were for those big steel blocks that I honestly, they were broken, so I couldn't really tell you what they were for. I thought I could grind the top off the pin on this side, clearly not. So I need to cut this head off, which that's where I'm at now with the grinder in Suspectville, because this is moving and now I'm wearing eye protection because should have started with that. Got it cleaned up. That stupid doodad is off. So now I'm gonna do the sketchy stuff and completely invert that center arch leaf spring. Probably gonna have to cut the other little bracket doodad off the other side of that too. Dang it. Well, we got the first leaf back put back together. Not real sure I should tell you guys how I compress the springs enough to get the arch out. But I will tell you, a large portion of the weight of this 1-ton Ford was used. Perfectly not sketchy. I don't know what this is, but we're gonna pretend it's not there. So let's compare this to the other leaf spring, see how much arch we took out. So here you can see factory unchanged pack here, the one I just modified, and you can see there's almost no arch left in it. It will likely go partially inverted on the truck, which off-road guys tend to not like, but if you ever notice Toyota 4x4s, their front leaves are almost always inverted. My Nissan D21, rest in peace. The rear leaves were pretty much always inverted on that as well. I don't worry about it too much. If they break, they break. You pull over, you replace them, right? No biggie. So let's do some quick maths and find out exactly how much drop this is, though. As you can see, center pin, just around 4 inches of drop out of that mod, which is great for me because one of my biggest pet peeves is seeing huge fucking drop blocks and long U-bolts hanging down on a truck when it's lowered. So love this. Let's get the other one done. I don't know about with the weight of the bed, but we did get a fair bit of drop out of the little thing. So back together, no shocks, pretty bouncy, but spring rate feels pretty close to the same. So if you're familiar with mini trucks, most of the time on older Toyotas and Nissans, their torsion bar. So literally you can just unwind the torsion bar, preload, and drop them down quite a bit. First thing that comes an issue is the front upper bump stop. Most people forget to take those out and they're like, my lower truck rides like shit. Yeah, it's because they have no suspension then. So you do want to pull those. Unfortunately, if your truck was ever a truck in its past life, all this shit is going to be filthy. So I'm going to have to support this lower control arm. I guess I'll use the jack, but I do plan on doing what's similar to a ball joint flip that you would do on a Toyota or Mazda. On Toyotas and Mazdas, there's actually a cool trick where their ball joints are mounted underneath the control arm, and if you mount them on top, it's called a ball joint flip. You get about 1.75 inches drop and a little bit of roll center correction. So since on the Nissan the ball joint's already mounted to the top, my plan is to actually cut this old lower and use it as a spacer to raise the lower ball joint. Now, that might sound a little funny, but actually in the opposite scenario, on upper control arms for off-road guys, ball joint spacer lifts are very common. I also happen to know that while that sounds like, oh no, shearing forces, easier to break, more stuff that's weaker, I just crashed my lifted D21 with a 2-inch upper ball joint spacer, and the ball joint failed. The spacer and all of the hardware held just fine. So I'm gonna need longer bolts, possibly only 2, because actually the 2 that go through the tension rod and through the ball joint might actually be long enough to go ahead and do my stack scenario here. And then I'll just need 2 longer ones to go through the tension rod and the lower ball joint and the ball joint spacer. So that's the plan. I'll still be able to adjust the torsion bars to bring it down a bit more, but this way I can get some free drop with a little bit better roll center correction. So let's see if that works. I was not prepared for how hard it was going to be to cut one of these bad boys. You know, got all sorts of flammable shit, you know, like this paper towel on my workbench. Got some disassembled cylinders and carburetors for my jet ski. Throwing sparks. Started smelling fire, and this guy just over here, he's got jokes. What a jokester, that one. Don't have a fire extinguisher. Of cutting my second ball joint and almost cut myself on fire, which is pretty typical for when I'm using a grinder, but another one of these guys. So, you know, smart. Get that out of here. Maybe I'll check the garage for other upstarts before I continue. So guys, here we are. See the old ball joint in there, spacing the new one up. A little over 1/2 inch, 3/4. 2 of the bolts that come on it originally went through the tension rod and up through the ball joint and control arm, and those are going to be long enough to make it through on the non-tension rod sides. I had my fiance run to the hardware store for me because I'm filthy and pick me up some grade 8 hardware that is shouldered and a little bit longer than these stock bolts, so that it can, if I can find the hole, that's what she said, make it up through both and hopefully still be as strong as factory. Only time will tell on that one. On the topic of safety here, just know most of these old Japanese mini trucks, domestics too, not the S10 or the Ranger, but full-size domestics, use torsion bars. Anytime you're playing with a torsion bar truck, keep in mind you gotta support the lower control arm if you've got the knuckle out, because the knuckle and your shock actually contain that torsion bar, and that torsion bar is strong enough to hold up your truck, which means once she's unloaded, this lower control arm is going to want to shoot down pretty hard. So if you got the knuckle off and your shock's still in there holding that control arm up, A, putting a lot of downward load on that shock. B, you start trying to take that shock off. Man, this nut's tight. Golly, it's tight. You get to them last threads, she's going to shoot out of there, and who knows who's going to be on the other side of it. So jack stand or a jack under the LCA. Hold it all up, keep it tight so you don't make a downward facing slingshot. Never really finished up yesterday. The ball joint spacer idea seemed to work pretty good. I got kind of in a roll putting everything together, and just kept going. By the end of the day I was pretty exhausted, so I just didn't really capture much. My new fuel pump did come in last night, so I was able to come home today, stab that bad boy on. Definitely was my issue. Also was out of gas, so got home today, put that on, put some gas in it. Just like a police chase in my area right now. Lookout, something, I don't know. It's pretty fun. So anyway, yeah, she's low now. Threw the bed back on today. Looks like I will need a 2-inch drop block for the rear, or to raise the front up, but that's probably not an option. Really can't be too sure on ride height yet because I don't have the wheels I'll be putting on it. I mean, I do, but I don't have tires. So I think tomorrow I'm going to do a 2-inch drop block in the rear nonetheless, because I already have it. I just got to buy the U-bolts, and then we'll see. She rides bad. Needs front shocks. The rear seems pretty good. Still need to bleed the brakes. Still got a hanging caliper. But, boy, she fires right up. Turns out I have 1-inch or 3-inch drop blocks already at the house, but I don't have 2-inch. 2-inch probably would have been the correct size. 3-inch looks like it'll be almost no suspension travel to the frame rail. 1-inch is probably right for, you know, an actual nice driver. Already got them. So rather than spend another $40 on 2-inch blocks, I'm gonna throw the 1-inch in. Hopefully when I get the wheels and tires on it, I'll be happier with that rear height, and I'll just adjust the front to suit. I'm also spending a small fortune on fuel filters instead of dropping the tank and emptying it and cleaning it. But you know, we'll probably address that later too. But dang, look at that, it's low. That's cool. If you've never done drop blocks, it's really, really easy as long as your truck came spring under axle. Typically on a full size, you'll have to do what's called a axle flip kit. And that's a huge amount of drop with literally just putting the axle above the leaf springs, because most of them come with the axle below. But on most mini trucks, the spring is already under. So when you're doing a drop block install, you're literally just unbolting the U-bolts, jacking the axle up, putting a block between here that spaces the axle up off the leaf spring. Leaf spring maintains its normal arch, shock maintains its normal length, and you just raise the axle, therefore lowering the truck. Already done my leaf spring mods, got 4 inches of drop there, put the bed and the bumper back on to see if it would come down a little bit more. It's just not where I want it. Thought I had some 2-inch blocks laying around. I actually had some 1-inch. Went and grabbed some U-bolts this morning. We're going to stab the 1-inch on. And more than likely end up buying 2-inch later, because I'm going to be like, it's not low enough. So, you know, let's see. Whatever hack worked on this last, put the wrong nuts on here. So I got a mismatched pair of 17s and a pair of 19s. With the parts store U-bolts, 9900,000% of the time you're gonna have to open these holes up to the next size up on all your Japanese stuff. Realistically, I don't have that much experience with S10s or Rangers, but I would assume similar scenario. These actually are quite large, so they might fit the 3/8 shaft of those U-bolts, but I doubt it. The other thing is the spread on the parts store U-bolts are usually a little wide, so they're going to end up having to be squeezed into these holes. So opening them up a little bit will help that. Simple, just like that, couple minutes. So now I'm going to look at these U-bolts, see if I got to drill my lower mount. We'll do the other side and we'll be 1 inch lower. You know, I really hate car shit these days. Maybe I am senile, but I swear to you, I used to go buy 2-inch drop block kit with all the U-bolts and hardware you needed to lower a truck, like $30. I know that because I used to be really friggin' poor, still not loaded, and I could afford to lower trucks. So this morning, thinking $20, that ain't bad. These U-bolts, $24 by themselves. Already have the drop blocks. Cool. Not that spendy, that's fine. But if I could read, I'd see here that it says 2, you're not gonna be able to read that. 2 U-bolts. You need 4. So I stay talking shit about this one chain of auto parts stores. So I never go to this one. It is half a mile from my house, and I never come here because I'm always pissed, and I always end up 5 miles from my house at some other parts store to get what I need. So this morning, didn't even bother. But guess what they have on their shelves? U-bolts with blocks for $46. Which I was about to spend $50 on U-bolts today. Aren't I a schmuck? But I do have some 2-inch blocks now. Just sitting here with my new 2-inch drop blocks and U-bolts from Advanced. I guess I gotta uninstall this used and crappy 1-inch drop block that I already had laying around, and these modified $25 U-bolts I bought from O'Reilly's this morning, so I can do the 2-inch on both sides with these better fitting U-bolts. I did say you'd have to drill out your lower mounts for most of the aftermarket U-bolts, and guess what? With these from Advanced, I did not have to. They're a great fit. They're only a touch too long, which normally I hack those off, but I might actually leave these. they're just even with the bottom of a 14-inch wheel. So with a 15, they'll be clear, so I can get a flat and they won't be dragging on the ground. I don't know that they'll hang up on too much driving, so we'll see. I'm pretty picky about those. Normally I do hack them off. So let me just pull those off, throw in my other 2-inch, and then I can get this thing on the ground and see what it looks like 2 inches lower than it was this morning.